Day 4 Word of God, Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22. You must not fear them, for the Lord your God himself fights for you. In Deuteronomy chapter 3, Moses recounts Israel's journey and battles as they prepared to enter the promised land. They have faced multiple enemies, including the Amorite kings, and are now positioned near Canaan, where they will encounter more powerful nations. As they prepare, Moses encourages the people not to be afraid, for God will fight for them as he has in the past. Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22 reflects Moses' assurance to Israel that, despite the strength of their enemies, they should not fear. God, who has been their deliverer, will continue to fight on their behalf as they follow him. This verse is a call to courage rooted in God's presence and power. You must not fear them. Moses commands Israel to abandon fear, knowing that God is their protector. The challenges ahead might be intimidating, but fear is dispelled when they remember who is fighting for them. For the Lord your God himself fights for you. God's active involvement in Israel's battles emphasizes his strength and sovereignty. Israel's confidence is not in their own ability but in God's promise to defend them and achieve victory. Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22 assures believers that God is not a distant observer but a present warrior fighting on behalf of his people. This verse encourages us to release fear and trust in God's power, knowing that he is committed to protecting and guiding his people. In Exodus chapter 14 verse 13-14, when the Israelites were trapped at the Red Sea, Moses said, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." This scene parallels the promise in Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22 of God's active protection. In Joshua chapter 10 verse 8, God tells Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand." Like Moses, Joshua is reassured that God will fight for Israel, giving them victory over their enemies. In Psalm chapter 27 verse 1, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" This psalm reflects the confidence of Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22, reminding believers that God's presence removes fear. In Romans chapter 8 verse 31, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" Paul's declaration echoes the confidence in Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22, showing that with God on our side, no opposition can prevail. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 3, "But the Lord is faithful, and he will strengthen you and protect you from the evil one." This verse reinforces God's commitment to protecting his people, much like the promise given to Israel. In Hebrews chapter 13 verse 6, "The Lord is my helper, I will not fear. What can man do to me?" This statement of faith mirrors the encouragement not to fear because God fights for us. Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22 invites believers to rely on God's strength, especially when facing spiritual or personal battles. Just as Israel faced daunting enemies on their journey, we often encounter challenges that feel overwhelming. This verse reassures us that we don't face these battles alone. God is actively working on our behalf, shielding, guiding, and delivering us. For the church today, Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 22 is a call to abandon fear and walk in faith, remembering that God's power is greater than any opposition we encounter. When we face difficulties, we can have peace, knowing that the Lord himself fights for us, providing strength, courage, and victory. God bless you and give you grace after grace.